presentation mode.
Hello, hello, Rishikesh. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, what's up?
Actually, I wanted to know about the usage of AI in gems and jewelry.
So there are one or two points I will cover it as part of the presentation from an AI standpoint as well. But can you give me a background in gems and jewelry when you say see AI can be used in multiple parts. So if you give me a background and
See, I have been working in the AI for last few years, and I'm founder of Interpret.ai. So we provide different solutions around computer vision, deep learning, NLP. I mean, all sort of AI, whichever is possible. So just wanted to understand what in as far as possible in a computer vision we can use in AI, or I mean I am not sure if there is any possibility of using NLP. So that is one thing. Any type of for predictive analysis or something like that.
so as part of the presentation, I'll cover a few things and I will try and emphasize wherever I would think that an AI is possible, whether I know it or I know that there is a possibility, but I may not know somebody who is working on it. So yeah, I'll highlight that. Any other points that somebody wants me to highlight?
I just wanted to welcome Miss Purvi Pachigar. She has been kind enough to join us today. Those who belong to Surat, they might know Pachigar Jewelers is a big name in Surat and especially Gujarat, right? So thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today. And she's one of the supporters who has actually motivated us and is there for us. That if you do something in this sector, we'll always be there to back you up. So thank you so much for your support. Rishikesh, let's go ahead with the session now.
Sure. So I'll switch over to the presentation. Okay.
If you can just make it full screen. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Is this fine? You guys can look at it. I mean, are able to view it?
Yes, yes, it's clear.
Okay. Hi. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Rishikesh Trivedi. I head the Suntech Innovation Lab, and then there are a few other things. So, coming back to what I do, this is just to give you a sense of my background. I have around 20 years of experience in technology. I have been across selling technology to selling to technology companies. One of the business interests I have is I sell go to market to technology companies. So SAP, Microsoft, Lenovo, HP, AWS, they are all customers of mine in as part of one of the business line. There is another business line where I am helping gems and jewelry to build up an analytics line of business for one of the tech providers in gems and jewelry. I have also invested into couple of marketing technologies, which helps on the customer experience and martech side of it. And I'm also a strategic advisor to a few other startups, right? So that's my broad background. Uh, Technology around 20 years, gems and jewelry around 5 years of experience. Okay. Uh, So as I was saying, I head the Suntech Innovation Lab, which is part of Suntech Business Solutions. Suntech Business Solutions is approximately around 14 years in existence. I have been an advisor on board for the last 5 years over there. As part of Suntech, we provide multiple technology solutions to more than 650 customers in 25 plus countries in 6 plus languages. So we have Russian, Turkish, Arabic, Farsi, Chinese, and English, of course, right? And we support the jewelry industry across the entire value chain except mining, right? So you look at retail, wholesale, manufacturing, bullion, refinery, across gold, diamond, watches, precious metal stones, etc. These are some of the customers that we have. This is just to give you a highlight in terms of the kind of experience and expertise that we come on board. So I'm a very firm believer that a genius is 10% innovation and 90% adaptation, right? As part of your entrepreneurial journey, or whenever you're looking at doing some kind of a digital transformation, or if you're part of the jewelry and you're looking at changing certain elements of your business, the important thing is that you innovate 10% of the time. 90% of the time you can't take as is on the innovation side. You need to constantly improve that. So that's the key element over here. uh, the top three trends that are impacting the jewelry industry, uh, first and foremost obviously is the corporatization of the industry players. For I would say centuries, jewelry has been a very family oriented business. Over the last decade or so, we are seeing a significant shift in that particular way of doing business. There's a lot of new corporatization industry players which are coming in. Obviously, Tanishq, TBZ were one of the few ones. But then over the last decade or so, there are a lot of other people who have come in. What that is also giving is a fair bit of internationalization of brands. There is a clear growth of the branded jewelry, right? A lot of new things are coming up from a trend-based and theme-based jewelry. And of course, there has been a significant acceleration of the supply chain processes across the value chain, right? Uh, Obviously, the second most important trend is the change in consumer behavior. It's now become a cliche to say there's a rise of millennials and things like that. But one of the key element that we have seen is, one, there is a complete reconfiguration of the channel landscape in terms of how jewelry players are trying to create their own niche, trying to create their own core competency and sustain their businesses. At the same time, from a consumer standpoint, jewelry is moving. I wouldn't say that the asset class is no longer relevant. Asset class is relevant, and possibly in India it will always remain relevant for the next thousands of years. But yes, there is a significant shift from the jewelry industry in terms of saying, okay, people were only looking at it as an asset class. Now they also look at it as a fashion class, right? And third most important thing is movement from an information poor to an attention deficit environment, right? And this is happening across the board, and this is something which is impacting all industries, right? The first two are more or less jewelry specific. The third is something where all of us are getting impacted. uh, so with this, elements of trends, this is the background, these are the undercurrents, on which we need to figure out how do we transform ourselves, our organizations, or create models which would help us transform the gems and jewelry industry, especially obviously through technology. Uh, is the pace okay? Do you want me to go slower, faster? Okay, I'm assuming then it is okay. Uh, there are various types of innovations that are possible, right? But I would like to categorize them in one of the three elements, right? First and foremost, it's enabling better customer experience. Any type of innovation that an entrepreneur or somebody would do would need to possibly have a better customer experience. That would be around customer engagement, improvisation or rejuvenation of the brand, having a new channel or a channel specific innovation from a customer standpoint, or the service level of innovation from a customer experience standpoint. The second important element is the product offering in terms of how either the product itself is changed or the performance of the product is changed, the utility of the product is changed, things like that. As we go along the presentation, I will also give some examples around all of. And third most important thing is if you can change certain elements of the configuration, which would include the revenue model, profit model, the network within which you're trying to sell it, the process itself in terms of the process of sales, process of manufacturing, process of some operating process that you can innovate. or the overall structure itself is made changes and tweaks around that. So these are the various innovations that an entrepreneur or a business can look forward to, when they want to, look at certain elements of innovation. Uh, Now, this obviously is a fairly generalized element. Now, as we go along, we will try and figure out how. I'll try and explain a few things in terms of how this can be, put in context of the gems and jewelry industry. Um, is this fine? Can I move forward? Any questions till now?
No, fine with me. Please go ahead.
Sure. So, uh, I would like to touch upon, uh, a very interesting, story behind this, right? So everybody obviously knows who Einstein is, right? And in 1940s, he used to be a professor in MIT, right? So one of the years, right, he had given a question paper to his set of students. Uh, the second year and the next year, the same students went to the higher grade, and he gave the same question paper, right? So his assistant professor was like, Mr. Einstein, these are the same set of students, and you have given the same set of question paper. Not even a full stop is changed or a comma is changed from one place to another. Last year also you gave the same question paper. This year also you're giving the same question paper. Why would you do that, right? So Einstein tells him, yes, the questions are the same, right? But the answers have changed. Now, what am I trying to say? Whether the jewelry business was happening, 5,000 years back, 500 years back, 50 years back, 5 years back, or as it will happen over the next 5, 10, 50 years, right? The broad questions will always remain the same, right? How do I have a more innovative jewelry? How do I create a wow for my customers? How do I do it profitably, right? How can I increase my margins, right? What kind of technology can I use to have better customer experience or a better product or a better operational efficiency, right? Any of those things, the questions are going to remain the same, right? It's that, as technology evolves in other aspects of life, we try and figure out how can those technologies be adopted for us and how can we use it to improve our businesses. Okay. So now what I'll do is I'm just giving you a few examples on the customer experience side of it, right? Obviously, I'm just giving you a few of them. So one, yes, there has been a significant progress in the augmented reality and virtual reality part of the customer experience. For that, what I'll do is I'll just share a video link. Correct? Give me a second. You guys can see the video now.
Yes.
Let me just hope that the volume works. Just let me know if you can't hear it, because it's on a headphone. Are you able to hear the volume?
No.
No? One
It's okay.
second.
Uh,
Is this better?
yes, yes, yes.
Okay, yeah. Because of the headphone, I think that's what was happening. So this is, a sample a video that's on AR and VR, but I can assure you there are like tons of players who are working on the augmented reality side of it and the virtual reality side of it when it comes to jewelry, right? This is around virtual try-ons and things like that. Yeah. Uh, One of the other innovations, I would like to talk about is there's a company which has started with something called as a high-tech friendship bands, right? So what they have done is they have created a set of products. So there is a bracelet. You can have a necklace as well. These are the two that I'm talking about, right? Now they are connected via cloud and a mobile app, such that, for example, right? Let's say me and Kalp are friends, right? So we may have bracelets for each one, right? Now, if I am remembering Kalp, I can tap it, or on the mobile, I may have connected to, let's say, more than one friend. I can click on it and it just gives a sensation. So there is a certain vibration that would happen on the band, okay, and it will light up. This is essentially just to give a feeling that, yes, my friend is remembering me at this point in time, right? So it's not about poking on Facebook or sending a WhatsApp message. Just the fact that you are able to communicate and empathize and talk to the, or not talk, actually communicate to the friend that, you're still in my mind, so that kind of stuff, right? So those kind of innovations. One of the other innovation that has come in is a gold ring. Obviously, there are bands and other things also. I've just mentioned gold ring, which can also double up as a USB, right? This is for the modern working woman, so that kind of stuff, right? So these are just some of the elements which talks about, how customer experience can be changed, right? Obviously, there are a lot of other examples. I've just tried to take a few of them. Would anybody from the participants would like to, share, because some of you are also entrepreneurs and running your own jewelry business, in terms of any example that you would have done or you would have seen about customer experience? I mean, I would like this to be a more, a discussion kind of a thing where we can all learn from each other. Anyone?
See, what I understand that nowadays in the search, there are different, I mean, a lot of companies use like a Pinterest, or we can say Google, there is image search. So similar
Instagram
way,
also.
yeah,
Instagram also.
Instagram
Yeah.
also. So similarly, like for the designing of, I mean, jewelry design jewelry of gems, a customer can have a search option of visual search to find a similar design. So that's possible through AI computer vision. That's what I know.
Of course, there are a lot of players in image analytics who are working to crack this problem, right? There are also, I am aware of at least one more company. What they are trying to do is they scrape through Instagram feeds and Facebook feeds, and they are able to do analytics both on the facial recognition side of it, as well as the jewelry or some jewelry item that they are wearing. So then what happens is that they look at, okay, such and such kind of a celebrity, so they can, through the facial recognition, understand whether it is, who is a celebrity. Now they have a database of celebrities and what kind of audience they you know they are very popular with, and they also identify the jewelry, so kind of a necklace, the color of the the jewelry, things like that. And then they are creating more like sentiment analysis, okay, in terms of if this kind of a target persona or a segment is there, then similar kind of designs may work, right? So those kind of work also is, I've heard a couple of people going through that, and I've spoken to the founders in terms of, them trying to crack this problem. Any other, in somebody else? Okay. Let me, move forward.
Yeah, so Rishikesh, I'll request that we go through the entire presentation first and then have a
Mm-hmm.
Q&A at the end, right? So let's just give
Sure,
enough examples for them to, go through, and then we have a
sure,
proper healthy discussion. Thank you.
sure. So another example around product offering is, so for example, there's a new thought that has come up from a video, sorry, the light projection part of it. I'll show you a video on that as well. So that was a an example of a light projection based jewelry. There are others which people have come out with which are more like motion sensors. So you would have a ring, correct? And you can use it from a sensor standpoint because a lot of touch screens are coming up, whether it is an iPad, Surface Tab, or any of those. So you can do that. Some of the other ones are, so the way we have all seen smartwatches, right? So this is an example of how a small digital is there on the earring or on the pendant, and that can change the colors or the designs based on the what you're wearing. One of the very you know innovative ones which I have come across is something called as a living jewelry. Let me show you an example of that as well. So moving on to the next set of sorry hazards of YouTube. Uh, Coming back to the next example, which is around configuration or alternate uses or material science uses of certain precious metals and things like that, right? One that I've come across is fully autonomous drones to help gold miners, right? So typically, what happens is, gold mines at every, when they have to, go down uh, and they have to explore for more gold, right? From a mining standpoint, they end up using explosives, and each explosive at a time, uh, takes care of the rock for around 80, 100, 120 meters, right? And you don't know, right, in terms of what aspects of the cavity, how the cavity has been built, or has been blasted off. Is it still safe? Will people be able to go through things like that, right? So there have now, with the latest technology, what they have done is there is an autonomous drone which would go through. It will map out the entire 3D plan, and they would then design the next set of blasts, such that it will become, a safe and a possibility of, how the miners would go in to get the gold, right? So that's one of the things, right? Another example that I've come across is there's a special alloy that one of the university has made, which is of platinum and gold. Now, this is almost 100 times more abrasion resistant than the stainless steel, right? So typically, what would happen is whenever there are a lot of friction-oriented usages, right, and alloy like this can significantly improve the performance of that particular machine and things like that, right? Another example is for building better batteries. So you have this rechargeable batteries, right? Now, typically, a lot of this rechargeable batteries can undergo, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, number of recharges, right? What through experimentation they found out is if they use a gold nano particle and a stream of that, right, to cover the cathode rays and all, the ability of the battery to recharge increases to 200,000 plus, right, without losing power. So now that's a significant improvement in terms of the, battery life and things like that, right? So that's another example. A crystalline material has been built by another university, right? Now it's very unique, right? So what they've done is the silver gold wire has bi-directional property when it comes to electrical conductivity, right? So on let's say from left to right, it is a semiconductor. It may be an insulator from right to left, right? So this would allow, I don't know how many of you come from an engineering background. When I saw the responses, I saw a lot of the people who had registered were part of engineering. So I'm just taking, a bit more, my apologies for anybody who is not from an engineering background and it's more from a commerce and other background. But essentially, this is extremely amazing because typically diodes and triodes have been used, right? When you wanted a single directional current flow, right? Because that's what is used as elements in computers and switches and across the board, right? So that's very interesting. I remember somebody talking about, and I saw one of the responses was around 3D printing, right, on the manufacturing tech side of it, right? So on the manufacturing tech, obviously there is a lot of CAD, computer-aided designs that are being used from a jewelry design and things like that. Laser technology is used for different types of polishing, cutting, etc. 3D printing has traditionally been used over the last few years, mainly around making of molds, the wax molds and designs that are being used to build jewelry. Recently, when I was in JCK, just last year I couldn't go, but the year before that, when I was in JCK, I had come across a 3D printer which also directly prints the jewelry. So you put in the gold dust and the silver dust and things like that, right? And it would directly do a 3D printing on the of the jewelry itself. Obviously, it was doing very simplistic designs, not as complicated as we would like, at some point in time. But yes, it is possible. There are products available on the 3D printing side with respect to jewelry, both on the mold side as well as direct printing of jewelry. Uh, I remember somebody, has that person joined? If he has a few other questions, or do we move forward and come back to this? Okay.
Yes, he just mentioned that the company's name is Desktop Metal.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So one of the other thing that I think the person who was looking at AI was asking about is, so one of the critical problems that happens in diamond cutting, right, is, for example, when the rough diamond comes in, right, the rough diamond has, a very, it can be of any shape, right? There's no particular shape in which the diamond is recovered from the mine, right? Now, one of the very interesting and a very important problem that people face is, what should be the shape that I should cut in such a way that I do not lose much of diamond, because the moment you cut something, it gets away, right? So your weight of the diamond and all that stuff becomes lower, so your value diminishes, right? The second is such that the volume is the maximum, right? So what is the maximum volume of that I can utilize? So the minimal amount of cut that I have to do, the better is my revenue possibility from that particular diamond, right? At the same time, the I want to minimize the defect as well. So this is a very interesting problem that, and I'm sure people in Surat are used to it, and are using a lot of cutting tools, and optimizations tools and imaging tools to be able to do that. But that's another area where AI can play a very important part, right?
Okay.
Okay, shall I move
Yes.
forward?
Please.
Yeah, thanks for the example.
So the key element here is that technology alone is not enough, right? What we need to look at is, are you able to think a few moves ahead, right? Now, it's not just about what others are doing and I can do, or things like that, right? Some other industry may be utilizing technology in some shape and form. Maybe the gems and jewelry industry has not yet figured out how to use it. Can we try and incorporate that, right? And traditionally, at least my years of experience in technology, where I have worked with the, Gartner recognized products, Nasdaq listed products, and have sold technology to billion-dollar organizations as well. What at least I have seen over the last 5 years, which I was very pleasantly surprised, is that the gems and jewelry industry is still fairly nascent in terms of adoption of technology, right? It's still, I would say, if not 100%, yes, there is some corporatization, but my personal take is at least 95, 98% of the business is still unorganized. I don't want to say unorganized in the wrong sense. I would like to say it's more family oriented. The willingness of the owners to adopt technology, or inculcate technology as part of the core element of the business, is still very, we are still in dabbling at the inflection point, right? So I would personally think that, doing something in technology in gems and jewelry has a significant possibility, right? When I compare gems and jewelry with any other lines of business, right? Whether it is retail, I mean, when I say retail, I mean fashion retail and things like that. Manufacturing, telecom, banking, financial services, right? Governments, right? And I would like to think, the Dubai government or some of the governments might be using a lot better technology than a private entity in gems and jewelry, right? So 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 that's my take on it. So I have more or less completed. I tried to do around 35-40 minutes, right? So we are there. So I mean, I would like to leave you with a comment, which is, essentially, success is a journey, not a destination. We need to be exploring how various technologies can be used, in gems and jewelry. Uh, so, you know, any other thoughts,
Yeah,
questions,
so
and points that you
I
may want to have?
uh, I'd like to open the forum. So the reason we carried out this today's session was simple because we are coming up with an accelerator program especially for the gems and jewelry sector, and being Suntech Innovation Labs, they have around 650 plus customers with Jawahara, Malabar, Kalyan, etc. players. What we are trying to do is presently we want to create this 6 month accelerator program in which we'll get ideas from various people with some problem statements, or those people who have some ideas to convert their idea into a proper product in the gems and jewelry sector. We'll handhold them for the 4 months and ensure that they get a revenue at the end of these 4 months or something, and eventually they graduate from the accelerator program. And I'll just like to give a brief presentation about how will we are going to fund them and what are the various options that we can provide them. So that is the upcoming building of Ashine, right? It's a 20,000 plus square feet of space that we have created specially to host around 30 plus startups in various sectors. Now, Ashine is one of the only nodal institute that has got recognition from the government of Gujarat, and where we can provide a seed fund of up to rupees 40 lakhs per startup. So these are the basic benefits of this, the scheme for assistance for startups and innovation. That there is a seed fund of rupees 30 lakhs. This is a government grant, not a loan or any kind of such thing. That is provided for product, process, and services. There is additional 10 lakh rupees for startups that are creating a social impact. Now, you being a startup, you are fully involved in that startup. So there is a sustenance allowance of 20,000 rupees, kind of a salary to the startup per month. And if there is a women co-founder, say 50% or more, then it goes up to 25,000. You get additional 1 lakh rupees for training, carrying out trainings in soft skills, and additional 3 lakh rupees to enroll and participate in any national or international programs, right? That is basically if you go to Jitex or any such exhibition, you can go there and you can take an exhibition stall. You just have to take care of your tour pro accommodation and travel, right? Once you utilize this 30 or 40 lakhs, then the next comes is the mid-level pre-series A fund, that is somewhere between 50 lakhs to 3 crore, and there is an additional 1% interest subsidy. So, being a recognized nodal institution under the accelerator program, all these startups that we select would get a seed support up to 30 lakh rupees for cost of raw materials, consumable hardware, software, professional services, for carrying out market research, testing and trials, marketing and publicity assistance. They get assistance of additional 10 lakh rupees if it is related to a social impactful sector. The sustenance allowance, as I mentioned, the mentoring assistance. If a specific mentor reaches out to you and there is a synergy between the startup and the mentor, and they think that this mentor can help you reach from say point A to point B in say 6 months or 11 months, then you can get them on board as a mentor and you can provide the mentoring assistance to them. There is the skill development assistance of 1 lakh. Say you want to work on certain skills, managerial, marketing, financing, or anything related to your startup, then you can do that. This additional 3 lakh rupees to represent in any national or international exhibitions, and eventually the 50 lakhs to 3 crore. And this is not just the end of the grant. Once you utilize up to this 3 crores, there is additional fund that goes from 3 crores to 10 crores and above 10 crores. So these are the various things that we can carry out, being the nodal institute. So eventually, what we are planning is in a month's time or so, we'll get on board with the best mentors in the industry, and we'll start taking applications from the program. We'll scrutinize those applications. And in the next 4 months, these startups would reach from idea stage to minimum viable product and eventually to go to market. And entire technical support would be provided from Ashine side, and the customer base, the distribution network, everything would be provided by Suntech Innovation Labs. I think that much is clear from my side. Now we open the forum for any questions or any suggestions that we might have. Yes, Rishikesh, we have someone, Srinivas is there, who says Mirar by Style.me is AR mirrors in significant locations for jewelry try on. Okay. Vatsal
So
says that.
I am aware about Mirar. I know Meghna also. We have tried to take the product here as part of Suntech Innovation Lab. But the unfortunate part was that I think the product is pretty neat. Okay, so without a doubt, there are a lot of customers over there. I think the challenge that happened was we signed up with them. I think in June, July last year. No, actually, we started discussing with them in November last year, November 2019, when they were here for one of the retail jewelry forums. Okay, and we started having a discussion with them. I had seen Meghna in JCK as well. The challenge was we started working on it, and the COVID hit, right? And during COVID, the jewelers in the region were completely, dumbfounded in terms of what do we do, right? The shops are closed. There was significant amount of uncertainty, and somehow it didn't go well. But I know that they are doing very well. They have built a very good product. Mirar is a pretty neat player in that particular AR/VR segment for sure. Yes.
So I'll request Purvi Ben to share some light and share her suggestions and opinions on how we can, actually go in this direction and create this program, and what kind of ecosystem we need to create for this specific sector in Surat, and starting with Surat in South Gujarat. Yes. We are not able to hear you. No, still not. Oh, your mic is off.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Kapil. Actually, I am here to know about the
Sorry.
Sorry.
Your voice is not.
Some problem with my end.
Puruben, if you can just try turning off your video. Yeah, hello. Not able to hear you. Yeah, so until she rejoins, let's go ahead. Vatsal has written a lot of things, and also Hardik. Hardik and Vatsal, if you want to talk till then.
Yeah, I mean, basically, see, I have been software in software field for last 15 years now. So, but haven't got opportunity to work with gems and jewelry industry. So, So that's where the problem is that as an outsider, I don't know that what would be how it is working or what would be the problems of the industry. But still, I mean, at least every industry has some data, and we can get value of that data. That's what the thing. So then, whom to approach in the industry and who is really ready or willing to adopt the technology? I mean, instead of going to each gems and jewelry organization one by one, maybe there is some organized way to approach someone. Then maybe we can explore something. So
Correct.
how
And
to
it takes
approach
and it
whom?
takes on that, Rishikesh, like you have a large customer segment. So basically what Vatsal is mentioning is uh, they don't want to, like, that's the correct part. Like, you don't go and reach out to each and every jeweler, but if someone like Suntech can help them, uh, so any inputs on that?
So we can obviously explore that as a possibility, Vatsal. So maybe so I had shared my email ID. If you want, I can share it again, right? Uh, but it's better that we take this conversation offline, right? Uh, but yes, that is something that can definitely be taken. We need to look at it from two or three aspects. One, what's the existing work and expertise that you have done, the depth of expertise that is there on the AI ML side of it, right? That's on one side. We obviously can come with two things. When one is the domain expertise, right, and the second is the access to a significantly large base, right? And I mean, I'm sure you also realize, since you've been in technology for 15 years, getting 650 customers is an achievement, yes. But while you're getting 650 customers, you also know 2,000 other jewelers, right, who may not have taken your product, but you still have a decent relationship with them. So we can always figure that one out. That's not a challenge, Vatsal. So why don't we talk offline, right, and have a chat on that? Absolutely.
Thanks.
Hello, I would like to say something. Kalvesh bhai, if that's fine with you.
Please go ahead.
So, first of all, Rishikesh ji, excellent presentation. I mean, I think gems and jewelry industry needs a lot of technology, both on the manufacturing side and on the selling side. So, I think you touched upon those points on a pretty good level. And also, Kalbhai, it is really great that we finally, with Surat being the diamond capital of the world, we finally have a program and an accelerator that recognizes startups in this field and in this space. So I think that's a great achievement and that's a great first. And I think a lot of the biggest problem that we as jewelers face in the industry is that our industry is considered to be very aged old in terms of technology adaptation, which is not true. It is a perceived image that is there in the market, but times are changing and we want more young and young engineers to come in and get excited about the gems and jewelry industry. I think this is the right step in that direction, and I really appreciate you guys doing this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hardik. I understand what you are going through, right? Having a startup that is, or basically a company that is at your level and not finding the correct ecosystem. So hopefully, Shine and Suntech collaboratively can provide that. And with people like you and everyone who has joined over here, we'll be able to get at least 10 good people for the first leg of our accelerator program and create a few success stories for people to understand that it's the technology is not as that bad as they think or as the stereotype prevails, right? I think there is a question from Srinivas, if you can please go ahead. Chirag from Diamond Merchant, do you want to talk anything?
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
please go
Hi
ahead.
everyone. This is Chintan from Diamond Merchant. So we are building diamond trading platform basically, so that jewelers or other, the buyers from the end user markets can directly get the diamond from manufacturer based out of Surat. So currently, it's just on first page. We have just created the platform. So currently, we have 7,500 diamond manufacturers, jewelers, are already on the platform, and we are constantly upgrading it, I mean, based of the customers feedback. So sir, here my question is that, so this is the first phase, but our vision is to create the end-to-end pipeline, because there are competitors are there in the market, but they are just discovery platforms. Suppose in case of you are sitting at Dubai and you wanted to buy some diamonds, say, I mean, 5 carat diamond and GH color, I mean specifications. So there may be chance that the Surat-based manufacturers and he has very good cut, but he could not able to get the excess of global demand. So that's what the area, and on top of that, we wanted to make sure the how can we bring back the trust element into this particular the supply chain we are building. So it's more of supply chain problem. And as an insider, I mean, all of our four friends that we are building, all of our families ties with diamond industry more than 30 years. Our dads and I mean family persons are there in the business, but they are more doing, the kind of, I mean, not so called traditionally, but I mean, so called reference system. So that's my, I mean, just, I mean, the question is that how can we, I mean, you come across kind of things, how can we add the trust element into this particular system we are building, sir? Thank you.
That's a very nice question, Chintan. I agree, and I'm sure you also know about competing products like Rapnet and
Yeah.
MyHira, and then eJewelry is coming up. But eJewelry is on the jewelry side, not on the diamond side. But then you have something like VDB in US and things like that, right? So I agree there are a lot of players in the market, and I can assure you there is a possibility of at least 50 to 100 more players, right? So you don't have to worry about it in terms of is it a very competitive space or not. But the point you have raised is very, very pertinent, which relates to trust, right? Now
Yeah.
what most people don't get, and only people who do business and who has been doing business for years will realize is trust is the cornerstone of the business, right? And there is no shortcut to building trust, right? Any business, any human being who has to build trust with other people or other businesses such that they'll continue to work with them, trust will have to be built over years, right? Yes, there are possibilities where you splurge some $1 million in advertising and things like that so that everybody will know you, they will have a brand awareness about you, but a brand awareness doesn't necessarily mean trust, right? Trust can only be built when you execute transactions, when those transactions are executed, in the right way, with ensuring that no party is getting defrauded and things like that, right? And diamond does have a significant possibility of fraud things that are happening. So it is up to how you are fine tuning your supply chain process. As you rightly said, most of the others are discovery based things. And what happens in this is, and I've seen this as more of a I don't know. I don't want to use the word culture, but a typical scenario in jewelry is, or gems and jewelry, even diamond trading is that I would use the platform as a discovery. I will look at the number, mobile number, email ID, whatever. I will pull that out, do an offline transaction, right? Your challenge is how will you create a revenue model out of it? Creating the platform is the easier part. Creating a revenue model such that somebody is willing to give you, whether it is $100 for subscription, or it is 0.05% of the sale transaction value, or whatever it is, right? Whatever be the shape and form of your revenue model, that will be a challenge. Correct. And to ensure that if somebody puts up saying I have a 5 carat VS, it's actually a 5 carat VS and not so, because there are obviously even the certification process we have seen, there are so many discrepancies. I wouldn't say sorry, let me rephrase. It's not discrepancy, it is more like difference of opinion between three different people who are trying to evaluate the same diamond. Correct. So those are the things that you may have to figure out, and which is where I think somebody like Divine Solitars has been able to do a good job in terms of rebranding it. There are a lot of lab grown diamonds and all, which are also coming up in US. So how will that impact your diamond discovery and things like that? So there are a lot of other parameters also that you need to look at, Chintan.
Yeah.
I don't know
Thank
if I've been able to respond to your satisfaction, but
Yeah, but it's very good insights. I mean, you just bring out the, I mean, some of the challenges that we are facing. Yeah, no worries. But we find it's a really interesting problem to solve. No worries.
yeah,
Thank
it
you.
is. It is.
Yes, Srinivas, if you are not able to unmute, you can just share in the chat box. We'll take one last one or two questions and then end the session. I think it is going to be a very long question. Yeah, so Srinivas says that I am from MIT Manipal and working on the B2B segment of jewelry industry. And apart from the digitalization, the main barrier is quality control.
Uh, is that a question? How we can tackle that segment? So, are you talking about tackling segment as a B2B segment, or you're talking about the problem statement that how can QC be controlled? Okay, so if I understand correctly, what you're trying to say is that B2B segment, how do we ensure that QC is taken care of in the B2B segment, correct? Okay, fair enough. So, I mean, there is no easy way to say this, because the challenge is in the B2B segment, uh, in a digital platform, you want to do it. Okay, fair enough. Uh, so here is the thing, right? There are two, three things that we may need to look at, right? First and foremost, can you automate the data flow process, right? Which means that somebody or the seller should have done certain quality assessment and would have put it into a particular platform with an image and things like that. They may have to do a high res image for this. They may have to put in a gold certificate. They may have to put in a diamond certificate, or any other precious stone certificate. All that stuff has to be uploaded on one side. uh, the buyer obviously will have to quality check the entire thing on his side. uh, See, there are GIA and IGI and all those diamond quality control players there. There is no, at least I am not aware of a player who would do the entire jewelry quality check, right? Because there are a lot of ways in which you can actually manipulate stuff on the jewelry side, right? So yes, I agree. It's a tough, you know. So Hardik has just mentioned it is DGLA. It's a tough problem to solve. Uh, End of the day, you can do things around spectroscopy and other elements from a gold or a precious metal standpoint. On the diamond side, obviously you have the certification from GIA and other players, and a combination may act as a automated QC. But having said that, it is still something that is, you need to have a third party assurance if you have to do a QC. But then that's a operating cost if you do it that way. So the moment you will try to improve the quality, it will impact the operational cost. So any jeweler or any buyer on the B2B side will have to balance that out in terms of how do I ensure a decent quality at the lower cost, right? So typically, what I have seen is larger organizations or premium organizations like Dhamani and those people, they try to do a third party assessment as well because they have a significant brand image and cost that is riding on it. Uh, Hypothetical theory. Yeah, I agree. The third party QC is, see, end of the day, as I said, right? QC is still done by humans. You can have spectroscope. There are always possibilities of things going wrong in any QC. Jewelry is just one segment. Even you look at any other industry. Also, QC is always a challenge. Uh, in the jewelry, more so because of the high value of the asset or the high value of the product itself is so high, and hence QC becomes a challenge. Automation is a bit tough. End of the day, premium players will work with third party QC providers, right? And QC providers will have to constantly improve, right? At a platform level, what can be done is a blockchain kind of a methodology can also be used, correct? On the diamond side, the challenge over there is how do you track that diamond, right? So so technically, on the software side, a lot of things are possible. Then the physical tracking becomes a challenge. So it's a very complicated problem to solve, which I am not sure it's easier to solve over a webinar. But maybe if multi-party comes together and somebody does genuinely spends time and effort on this, it is a problem worth solving for sure. I don't know if I've been able to answer you to your expectations, Srini. Sure, Srini, we can connect offline. Let me just open so that you can take down my phone number and email ID for people. You can take down this number and this. I'll also put it up on the chat.